Dale's heading to Israel tomorrow.
Is he?
17.
Oy vey. Boy, he's what, trip number 29? Or
Like, I'm not going.
Not going,
He wanted me to go.
I'd love to go over there.
Yeah.
Let's go next year. No way? There's no way getting you over there?
No, I'll talk to the Lord directly about it.
I'll be
All right, we're live.
I'll be puckered up a little bit going over there too. Hey, Facebook folks, welcome to Alan Autry No Retreat. We're getting ready to go on radio. We got Larry. Made it today, man. I tell you, it's like your second home here.
It is. I love Wednesdays.
Oh, I love Wednesdays too.
But you got some great Facebook folks.
We got 30 seconds.
30 seconds?
Really good.
I tell
really
you, we
good.
got the old Autry's Army ready to do battle for righteousness and good in the American way.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
All right. Quiet on the set. We wait to go on radio. I wonder why I wear this hat. It's Fresno State Bulldogs. My
5 seconds.
My beloved Fresno State. Okay, we're going on radio.
From NFL quarterback to Hollywood to the mayor's office, and now behind the mic at KXEX, this is the Alan Autry Show. No retreat.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
What the hell's going on out here? Everybody grabbing out there. Nobody.
That the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Today, I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth.
I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
So, 5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes! Unbelievable. Free at last! Free at last! Thank Almighty! We are free at
Autry Show on the best talk in town. Talk Radio 1550 KXEX. Call Alan now. 559-899-1550.
Hey, welcome to Alan Autry No Retreat. I'm old Alan Autry, and as always, I'm honored and humbled to have you join us today. It's Wednesday here in Fresno. It's Wednesday all over the country. I don't know, maybe Thursday in some other parts of the world. Too far out. But anyway, is it Thursday in the Ukraine? Are we at war yet?
Oh, boy.
In the Ukraine yet? Yeah. Oh, my gosh, we're going to talk about that. But I tell you, I know how John Lennon hits that yell on Revolution. Yeah! I was wondering, I said, man, that's a big yell. Well, I dropped a 25-pound weight on my toe yesterday in the gym, and I went John Lennon. Wow! So I finally realized how he got up to that.
Did they record that?
No, but I got him. I went, my toe's about 5 times the size it was, but hey, I'll make it through. It's not like turf toe. I'll take a 25-pound weight on the toe instead of turf toe. They say that stuff is bad.
Yeah.
And big football games coming up, but we're going to hit more of that on Thursday, tomorrow, playoff games. If you saw, quick aside, Larry and I were talking about before we went on the air here, all good games on Sunday. Saturday, not so much. The Packers lost and that laid an egg there. I'm just emerging from my season of mourning on that. But that Sunday made up for it. That last game, and our local boy, the Fireball Phenom, didn't get a chance to win it.
And he would have.
We got to change those rules.
My arm was sore just watching him throw.
Yeah.
It was so powerful.
Just to know he was used to slinging it around the field over there. Fireball. I saw him play in high school.
Yeah.
And tall, skinny kid.
Did you see him lay out that cornerback?
Oh, my God.
Tried to stop him run?
He needs to stop doing that. Let me tell you, there's only so many.
A teacher.
Yeah. Those linebackers and corners, they all run a 4-3. They're made like they're granite like rock.
Brick wall.
They're like football players out of the 60s and 70s. They've lifted weights from the womb. They come out a 1-year-old, man, they're doing sets of 10, with their football dads on it. Come on, you can do one more, kid. Come on.
More.
Daddy, don't no, come on, one more. And the collisions are more violent. Anyway, he needs to just be a little bit more, what's the word? You're the educator. Judicious.
Yeah.
A little more picky before he lowers his head.
That happens about the 5th year.
Yeah. Or the 5th concussion. Whichever comes first. Hey, we got big news. We got Eric Rosales, our partner in Washington, D.C., who called up yesterday and said he'd love to come on the show and talk about this latest development. Supreme Court Justice Stephen Breyer has decided to step down, if you haven't heard. Big deal for the Democrats. And it looks like, Larry, we were talking, again, off line here before the show started. But it smells like he's taking one for the team. For the Democrats, does it not?
It certainly does, and I don't think he likes it. But that's been done in history in the past, where someone was encouraged to retire a little premature to what they might have wanted to, and based on politics, not based on age or desire, or I think he's still full of vim and vinegar and would like to stay on.
That's what I found kind of interesting about this decision. I think he's in his 80s, but he's a very healthy, smooth-running 80.
Yeah. No, he looks good.
He looks good. His mind's working well. And let's face it, Supreme Court justice is not like digging coal for a living. I mean, you get up, you put on a robe, you go in there and you sit down and you discuss with 8 other folks, the future of the world, the country. But I get that. But once you get the hang of that and you're able to handle that as an old man or woman, you can pretty much still do the job if your mind's working right.
Sure. Well, you got a lot of help. You got a lot of people who research for you.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really good. You mentioned something I think was really important, and that is that he's the old style liberal, not the new woke liberal.
Right.
And
which I'll take right now.
Absolutely.
Any day of the week.
And you got to give him
Tip
credit.
O'Neill.
Yeah. He's a patriot. Give him credit.
Yes.
He served the country. I don't like some of the decisions he made, but many of them were simply an interpretation that's a little different than ours on the conservative side, but they weren't necessarily those really crazy, wild out there
right
in all cases.
Could a case be made that he, in this gender-neutral world, couldn't a case be made that he would be the male equivalent of Ruth Bader Ginsburg? If not equivalent, same sort of. I mean, you had a lot of conservatives that respected Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't agree with her positions, but her dissenting opinions and her opinions in support of things were well thought out.
Right.
You could understand
why the thinking went that way.
Why the thinking went
in
that
the decision
way.
Yeah.
And you had Ruth Bader Ginsburg saying, no, you shouldn't pack the court. It should stay at 9. You shouldn't go with this woke left craziness. It'll never end. Then the next administration will come in. They'll want 4 more.
Yeah.
Where does it? Now, this is from Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and I would think that Breyer would have some of that same common sense
Seems like
that the old school liberals had.
Right. I think so. It's going to be interesting to see. Obviously, we're reading that the retirement was leaked. He had not. If I'm going to retire after being a Supreme Court justice since I was appointed by Clinton, I mean, that's a long time ago. I've been on there a long time. I'd like to choose how I announce it. Let folks know. Maybe he hadn't even talked to some of his, close family.
I think this is his way. I think it's he's saying that. I'm a little bit more cynical.
You're kidding me.
He wasn't born last night. He knows how the world is now.
No doubt.
When he got together with his family and his trusted allies, his chief of staff, who would never ever, and said, I want you to keep this quiet.
Yeah,
but I'm going to step down.
Here's the press release.
No, but he knew that assistant would. Excuse me, Judge, but I got to make a quick phone call. My kid's sick at school, and I've got to go drive down and pick him. I'll be right back. And they went right down and dialed up the New York Times.
Well, CNN, crazy news now.
Come on, he knew that there's no way you can keep that.
No,
he may have
not in this day of media.
Don't you agree?
Yeah.
Now, he may have wistfully wished for a day gone by that they could keep this kind of secrets, but I think this is just, he's saying the right thing.
There are no secrets anymore.
There's no secrets. So, taking one for the team, we're going to have Eric Rosales, our Our partner, as I said, in Washington, D.C., calling in at 12:40, and we will pick this subject back up and see what Eric has to say. He's got his ear to the ground, and he gets the information first.
He gets some good information.
Yeah, and we get it right here at 1550 KXEX. First at the trigger on these things many times because of Eric. We appreciate him so much. Let's move now from the federal level, Washington, D.C., locally here in Fresno. We had a little bit of shakeup at City Hall. Some people may not think it in the magnitude of a Stephen Breyer stepping down to Supreme Court, but locally speaking, when a city manager of your city, because it's in the name, it's in the title of what you do, the city manager,
right,
manages everything, has more power in many instances than the mayor himself or herself. But we had a little shakeup. Little Tommy Escrate, I believe is his name,
right?
An appointee or hired by Jerry Dyer. He first came into office and was very high on this individual.
Directed public utilities at one point.
Yes,
for Fresno. Was at Fresno State as a vice president.
Right, and but he quit. He retired. And early reports from the Fresno Bee and is that there was a meeting and he wasn't too happy. We don't know what the details are, but I guess he left in not too good of terms, got a little ticked off, did a little yelling and screaming, according to the Bee. We don't know yet for sure. It's to be verified, but hopefully for Mayor Dyer, and we wish him well there, that it was not an acrimonious departure in the sense that he that there's bad blood there. You got to think what's best for the city. We don't know if maybe he was asked to leave, but we'll find out. There's no that leak. That leak will happen soon.
Yeah.
But what do you think about that, Larry?
I think there's always a shift when you get a new administration. You and I were talking during the break. When I became county superintendent, all of my assistant and associate, anybody with superintendent in their name, had to officially resign, send me a letter of resignation because I was an elected official. And so I started over. Now, I could keep them or not keep them. I happened to keep them all because I had very good people. But I think it's good to have a chance to get all your own folks in. But sometimes it's not necessarily a fit for the person in the job, and they don't like the job they're in. I don't know that that's the case with Tim, but there are a lot of different things, that are going on. His chief of staff, Tim Warman,
he resigned as well.
Has gone, yeah. But those kind of transitions are kind of normal in the first year. You're feeling each other out. Do I like the leadership? Is this the fit for me? Somebody else may have called and said, hey, I got something for you. You rise to those levels. The corporate world also starts seeking you and a lot more money. So you never know. Jerry's going to do fine. He'll just have to, pick somebody else who can really work with a broad range of people. That's a tough job. As you had a city manager and then a new city manager, and you went through it. So it's not unusual.
Yeah, it's my lone concern about Mr. Escrate. I never met the individual, but the resume, never having any kind of city managerial experience, you really don't know what you're getting into.
The city manager is a tough job. It's a tough job.
For the fifth largest city in the state of California.
Yeah. I mean, 34th largest in the nation.
Yeah. And, you have to do so many things outside of manage. You manage things. You lead people.
Right.
And as a city manager, you have to learn how to lead as well as manage. And big part of success of any city manager I've found out, from my own personal experience,
right,
and being part of the League of Cities and Council of the Conference of Mayors, the national organization, you pick the brains of mayors, and you find out very quickly that even though your city may differ in some ways, Fresno and New York, there's similarities and commonality of issues that you face,
right?
That pretty much all cities face. And one of those commonalities is the relationship between the city manager, the mayor, and the city council. And as a city manager, see, people don't realize this. The mayor of City of Fresno in the strong mayor format only has one hire in terms of city manager. Now, outside of his or her personal staff, your chief of staff, you can hire in these so-called at-will employees. But as a city manager, you appoint them, and people say, well, mayor hires the police chief. Well, no, not by the city charter. The city manager hires the police chief. Now, is there a lot of winking and nodding going on? I'm going to be totally honest with you. Absolutely.
Yep.
The mayor's going to have the final say, unsaid, with a wink and a nod. The police chief they want, and that individual wants. And that's true with any critical department head, whether it be the fire department, utilities. But that city manager's the asbestos between the mayor's office and the council. They have to, the city manager must be able to develop strong relationships, personal relationships with the city council to get anything done. When that relationship goes sour, you just can't get you don't get much done. Let's put it this way, as a mayor, when you have that dysfunction. Yeah. And that's why one of the qualities of city manager, what made Andy Souza so great, and the prior city manager was great manager of things.
Yeah.
He could get the paper in and out and this and that, talented in that area beyond anyone I've ever seen, but was a little deficit in terms of dealing personally with the city council and department heads.
And unions.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, there was not enough of that on this fellow's resume. And like you said, it's like you change a coach or a quarterback from a losing team. You bring in a coach who, they've been there for a while. They just can't get it done. But you take that coach, gets fired, and that coach goes over for another team and takes them to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Because the circumstances there are a better fit.
Absolutely. And nobody may have been wrong, Just that's the way it is.
Right.
I saw a whole lot of people who were in a managerial role that it became harder when you threw in the politics of the managerial side of things. And so if I'm a manager, I'm going to know what the mayor wants, and I'm going to take that into account in my selection of whoever's coming. If I don't like what the mayor's wanting to do, we're going to have some private conversations about that. And basically, the mayor's got to convince me that's the way to go.
Yep. You've got to be very attentive to people. You have to be respectful of what they have to say.
Yeah.
But you had better develop what I call that duck back. And that means you better have some
water,
feathers
baby.
Yes, that's right. You better have that back that lets that water roll off of it.
It's potholes to unions to employees, and that's a big thing.
And if you can't leave it behind,
yep.
and I'm not saying that this is what happened to Mr. Escueda. There's a talk show. We're just going over some possibilities. People are interested in this. And we saw that he didn't do a national search. He stayed in-house and named Georgianne White the new city manager. And Georgianne was my chief of staff for 8 years and did a stellar job.
She's very good.
Very, very good. I'm surprised she took it. She's,
with the wisdom she has.
She's got a couple of kids. She's, she's made some good, decisions, and financially, I'm sure they're doing well.
She's sharp, though.
And Bill, her husband, and her beautiful family, to step in and do that. But, she might be at a place, obviously, she's at a place in her life where she says, I can take this. I've been around. Nobody's been around City Hall more than her. And she understands about relationships. So we wish well to Mayor Dyer and his new regime there. Regime's the wrong word. His new additions to his team there. And if they succeed here in Fresno, we all succeed. And I'll take the next step and say that we succeed in Fresno, this Central Valley succeeds, because the fight on crime, on the fight to get more water, there's all these big issues. Fresno is expected to lead the way for all the little towns, for the Fireballs, the Tranquilities, the Mendotas, simply because we're the largest city.
Yeah.
And if we fail, our decaying carcass infects all the other little towns in terms of crime or not being able to get
on
water.
The other side, your momentum is enhanced when Fresno does well.
Exactly right. And you got to be willing. You don't go looking for a fight at the state, federal level, but you have to be willing to fight as the mayor of the city of Fresno. And I just hope that for our mayor and his new team. All right, this is Alan Autry, No Retreat. When we come back, we're going to talk about the Ukraine. Not Ukraine, not Ukraine, Ukraine. Not trying to be funny. I'm just trying to kind of get a glimpse into, I don't know what this country's about. I don't know anything about the Ukraine. I certainly don't know if it's a country that we should be sending our troops to putting them in harm's way to defend? I just don't know. When we come back, Larry and I are going to try to find out a little bit more about this Ukraine situation, because as Don Adams said in Get Smart, if you hear the headlines, we're that close to getting embroiled in something that could be an absolute nightmare. This is Alan Autry, No Retreat. We'll be right back. Was that a Jose Monroy choice for music? I love it.
Yeah.
I like it. Usually, folks out there, I'll see a song or feel a song on the radio, and I'll shoot it over to Jose. I said, "Hey, can we bump this in tomorrow?" Jose says, "Yeah, sure." And this one I hadn't heard before. Jose would have. I like that, man. Yeah, I'm interested to see the taste of Jose here. Love it.
Hey, and so Facebook audience can hear the bumper music.
They can hear the bumper.
They could, yeah.
They just hear Revolution, the beginning,
Just
the
at the
cutout.
beginning, I cut it off at some point.
Okay.
But then I bring it back on.
What happens if you let it play the whole time? We get fined?
Yeah, it gets copyright.
They get mad, I get canceled?
Yeah.
Guillermo will get an invoice.
Will come after us.
You don't want that.
Yep.
The Chinese Communist Party's behind everything. God, I hate communism. I just hate it. There's very few things I just hate. I'm a very loving guy and forgiving guy. I'll never forgive communism. It killed too many dang people, Larry.
Boy, it was crazy.
When Mao took over, they say the minimum 43 million people.
Yeah.
They say more likely 85 million people killed, and the system allows it. That says in the communist system, somebody gets in the way, doesn't play with the team, just go out, dig a big trench, line them up, machine gun them down.
Yep.
Stalin, over 800,000 so-called allies killed like within 2 weeks because he just had the notion going,
yeah,
I do not like these comrades anymore. I have a suspicion. That's what it was, a suspicion. You do a little homework on this. But the communist government, communist China, can you imagine a system that allowed the government to kill babies once they were born?
Mm-hmm.
It's bad enough inside the womb. It's true. I'm not exaggerating. That's not some right-wing wacko rhetoric. You go look it up. It was called infanticide, the one-child policy. And if you violated that one-child policy and you happen to have a female, a girl, it was killed. Now, they're paying heavily for that now. They're trying because the population's getting old.
Right.
But just to think about that. What system, the level of evilness that would embrace that as part, we have a constitution that says everyone has a right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Compare that to the Chinese, their constitution. They don't even have a constitution. They have a set of beliefs, Marxist beliefs, that have morphed into this ends justify the means, even if it's killing babies, ideology. And the scary thing is China is becoming the standard that other countries are looking at. Going, oh, boy, we love that system. Well, dictators do, because it's tough to govern democracy because the people have rights and they have a right to speak out.
Yep.
Yeah. Dictatorships, kings, they don't have to deal with that. Bad stuff. That's why I just. That's why the theme song for Communist China here is Bad to the Bone.
We're going to be talking about them?
No. You feel free, though, anytime. I always got something bad to say about Communist China.
There ain't no good in our
come on, Frankie. Come on now. Don't tease me, Frankie.
You're listening to the Alan Autry Show on the best talk in town. Talk Radio 1550 KXEX. Call Alan now. 559-899-1550.
Yeah. Come on, Frankie. Frankie Valley, more seasons, Larry. I got an idea. Why don't we just turn this show from a political entertainment show and sports show into an old-time 60s AM rock station?
I'm in.
This is Alan Autry and Larry Powell bringing it on and getting it on from 12 to 1 p.m. on KXEX. It's Frankie Valley and the Four Seasons. That'd be fun, wouldn't it? I wanted to be a disc jockey so bad back in the 60s. Remember the Kino, K-Y-N-O?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, my gosh. I didn't listen to K. I didn't really like K-Make. I don't know why. I was a Kino guy.
Yeah.
That little
Kino was big.
Did you have that little 6 transistor radio holding up to your ear, listen to the Doors?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I was going shh to everybody around me because it's hard to hear that thing.
I'll never
Didn't
forget.
have speakers.
I was in heaven when they had these little earphones. Remember those long cords?
Yeah.
That could stick into your 6 transistor. So if you could actually be inside your classroom, if you sat in the back and the teacher didn't know you were there, you could actually listen to Kino. All right, back to now the Ukraine. I'm sorry, folks. Sometimes I'll drift off and take a stroll down memory lane. And I used to fight those impulses. Now I don't care.
Yeah, that's right.
I've already been canceled in my career. Can't do any movies unless I'm making my own, which is just fine with me. I'd rather do that than grovel like
they're
John.
Good. They're good.
Well, thank you, Larry. We got 3 more in development, folks. I got an email the other day from, the fellow's name, very nice young man. Sorry, I've forgotten your name, but you'll know the email. You said from Georgia that you just discovered the show. You like the show and appreciate that. And didn't know that this is what I'm doing now. Well, let me clarify. I do this for 1 hour a day, and I love it. I absolutely love it. But I've not retired from movie making. In fact, I probably never retire. I've looked all over the Bible, and I can't see retire anywhere.
Christians don't retire.
Yeah. In fact, I see exactly the opposite.
Yeah. I call it refire.
I love that.
Yeah, refire.
Refire.
Not retired. I'm refired.
In the South, we call it refar. But in there, God called Moses when he was 80. So I'm going to continue to try to make movies. Got 3 in development. Got 2 out now. One called Forgiven, a Western. You can get it on Tubi. It's a great family film. You can watch it with your kids. Victory by Submission. I think, Larry, you could say, even though there's a lot of action, you could watch this with your kids. Victory by Submission.
Yeah.
No bad language, no nudity. And you can go to Amazon Prime, Comcast, Dish TV,
$2.99. $2.99.
A deal at any price.
That's right. And I'm telling you, I've seen it 7 times, Alan.
Yeah.
And the last time I saw it affected me just as powerfully as the first time I saw it.
Well, I appreciate that, Lane. You did a great job in that. All the actors did a good job.
It was fun.
The technical people, the crew, super job. And yeah, you just pointed that out. It's probably the only thing that's gone down in price since it was $8.99. It's the only thing inflation hasn't hit. I wish they would get a few little bigger checks.
At People's Church, we had a donation and a hot dog. So,
that was a great
really
premiere.
1,800 people premiered that.
Hey, standing ovation.
It was great.
And I was so proud because, like I said, it's, I've had my day.
Yeah.
If I can help a production, I have no desire to be the lead in a movie. I didn't even want to play the part of Hank. I wanted somebody else to play.
But it was good.
But, because of the budget constraints and everything, I did. I just like to be a part of seeing other people succeed. There's no better feeling than you succeeding than seeing somebody else succeed,
yep.
That really works hard at it. And I was so happy that the movie turned out. Victory by Submission. Go to your streaming service. You have to look for it. It won't be up there featured because it's a Christian film. And by the way, I got the last laugh on Xi Jinping. It's been playing in China for 3 years.
It has, I know.
We snuck
it in.
We snuck it by the Chinese censors.
Yeah.
And this distributor we had, he said it's a miracle. I said, well, God's at work in this thing. Somehow they got it through there.
Yeah.
And now it's being shown in China, in the homes there. And you know what? We didn't get a lot of money for it, but I don't care. I would have paid them to show it in China.
Oh, yeah, it's fantastic.
So Xi Jinping, my goal in life is to cancel you. I want to cancel you. I want people so upset at you, feel so betrayed that you get kicked out. Now, I don't know who you're going to have in after you. Probably somebody worse than you, Xi. But, hey, might as well go all out, right? I'm never going to be hired by Universal or Warner Brothers.
Well, you don't want to be hired by Disney.
Or Disney, that's because if you said anything bad about Communist China, you're done.
Well, woke left, man.
All right. All right, crank that up. Every time Communist China comes on, this is the theme song. So Xi Jinping, he's an evil man. I'm talking about evil.
On the day I was born,
oh, yes. Evil man. He cancels anybody that don't agree with him. Even them Uyghurs. Yeah, we love the Uyghurs, but not Xi Jinping. You know why? Because those Uyghurs can make some sneakers. Make it for 25 cents a pair so LeBron can buy them for $2 a pair and then sell them for $585 a pair. He's bad, OG. All right. Back to reality here. I just want to find, if there was any doubt that I'm going to work in China, I'm going to be a part of a movie, I completely obliterated that. I know what I've done. I've done it willingly. Now the Ukraine, which oddly, well, not oddly, it makes perfect sense that communist China and Xi Jinping will be very focused on what Joe Biden is going to do here. Larry, we've got 8.5 thousand military people. These are not advisors. These are not bureaucrats.
Troops.
These are sons and daughters, husbands and wives with guns in uniform on high, quote, high alert.
Right.
This guy, John Kirby, the spokesman for the Pentagon, wanted to point out, well, that doesn't mean it's imminent, that we're ready to go over there now. But and so you're saying, come on, what does heightened alert mean? We've seen what you did in Afghanistan. We've already seen 13 of our best killed, 13 Gold Star families created by your incompetence.
Yeah.
And this double talk and not telling the people the truth. And I would tell people here that listen to this show and spread it around the dinner table, all I demand, I'm not saying there's not a reason for us to go to war. There are some valid reasons. But I'll tell you one thing, there's more of valid reasons right now to ask why at this stage, because I don't know, and I'm not saying I'm the sharpest knife in the cupboard, and I'm not the brightest chrome on the bumper, and every other cliche you could say. I'm saying that I'm an expert on this, but dadgummit, I haven't talked to anyone much smarter people than me, and I'm going to let one who's way smarter than me give a little feedback here in just a few seconds here. But we don't know anything about Ukraine, what kind of country it is, what kind of system do they have, who is this Zelensky, this Vladimir Zelensky, who are these folks, and what is this country that we're on the precipice of a possible nuclear war with? Larry?
Well, you got to remember the strategic value of the Ukraine. It's the second largest by area country in Europe. Next to Europe, Russia's the largest. So it has a strategic value from that perspective. NATO has had some talks about bringing it into NATO. That's when Russia moved some troops next to the Ukraine saying, no, you're not going to join NATO. So you've got all of that behind the scenes going on. And I don't know, just like you said, I don't know the strategic value to us other than irritating Putin, so it's crazy. But the USA and United Kingdom are keeping their diplomatic folks in the Ukraine, not pulling them out as they're moving the 8,500 troops near.
As you look at this, purely analytical, take the politics out of it. Let's flash back to 1962. America, John Kennedy, was very, very concerned. The country was basically apoplectic at the Russians because of their missile sites, nuclear missile sites in Cuba, right off the coast of Florida. Okay? Europe, hey, you didn't hear much from Europe. Even our allies, you didn't hear nothing from Germany, France, Spain, a little bit, but it was, hey, that's America's problem. And we understand because Cuba's close.
Yeah.
And we're the ones that had to make the big decisions,
right,
and really call the bluff of Nikita Khrushchev. Well, now let's look at the situation now. You have the Ukraine, who is very close, bordering Russia, okay?
Yep.
But the allies there are saying nothing. You don't hear the rhetoric of in Germany, we have 20,000 troops on high alert. You don't hear anything from France that we're getting ready. Now, they're moving some equipment, this and there, but you're not hearing that kind of rhetoric.
No.
And why are we the one ramping up the rhetoric? If I'm making this analogy clear enough in my little brain, I'm trying to get it out. They should be the ones saying we will not accept this. We have our troops, UK, Italy, but then you look, in fact, the fifth largest trading partner with Russia is Italy. Italy is Russia's fifth, and you're seeing these folks not doing anything. It's not our job to go back and save Europe again. We've done it twice, World War I, World War II. They need to stand up, I feel, at this point, and tell us why it's so important.
Well, if they stand up earlier, then we don't have to go back in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we got Eric Rosales on the line. Eric, we're going to switch gears a little bit and go back to the Stephen Breyer retirement announcement. Are you there, Eric?
Yes, I am, sir. How
Hey,
you doing?
I'm doing better than I deserve now they got you on the line.
Eric, it's Larry Powell. Glad to have you here, man.
How's that?
Hey, glad to be talking with you, Larry.
Well, we're honored to have you here. What you got in terms of this Breyer announcement? He said he was kind of disappointed that it was leaked, but didn't he kind of know? He had to know this was coming. He say it to anybody, it's too big a news, right?
Well, I tell you what, it's Washington D.C., so loose lips sink ships, as we say here in the metro area. Yeah, Justice Stephen Breyer is set to retire. I mean, the vacancy is going to give President Biden his first chance to name a new justice, and as promised, President Biden says that he's going to nominate an African-American woman. We're expecting an actual official announcement from the White House. We usually have an official announcement from the Supreme Court, but as we know, President Biden wants to have it when possible. So the official announcement is going to be coming from the White House possibly tomorrow. It was interesting that Jen Psaki today she started off the news conference by basically saying that she is not going to be talking about the Justice Breyer incident and whether or not he is going to retire or not retire. But all throughout the day, we've been receiving comments and reaction from lawmakers, everybody from Majority Leader Chuck Schumer all the way to Dick Durbin and variety of senators and congressmen and women all the way down. So, so this is pretty much a done deal. Probably the official announcement is expected tomorrow. Are
you hearing any names being floated at this point? Possible replacements?
There's a variety of names that are being floated by, but what's interesting is we're going to have to wait and see on exactly. I mean, we're hearing everything from even Judge Michelle Childs. J. Michelle Childs is possibly one candidate favorable. She is basically a possible candidate, along with even all the way to even the VP Kamala Harris is possibly being a name to emerge out of there, and that could possibly open up an opening for maybe a Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden campaign in 2024. We don't know, but a lot of things are being talked about here in Washington, D.C.
Great. Oh boy, that scenario. Well, you
just took the air out of us.
There?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! I mean, we're.
Can you imagine? The Vice President Harris actually being?
Well, that whole scenario having
happening with the border.
Clinton coming and joining, and Biden. I mean, I'm getting up there in age myself, but my gosh, their combined age on that thing. I mean, how would they find time to discuss foreign policy between shuffleboard games? I mean,
yeah, no kidding.
Hey,
the other big news coming out of the Capitol as well is longtime Democratic Representative Jim Cooper of Tennessee has announced his retirement, and it's interesting. We're looking at 29 Democrats who are set to retire this cycle. Something that House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy and even the GOP are quite happy about. But just to put that into perspective, we're going to have 14 House Republicans who are not seeking re-election this cycle. And also House Speaker Nancy Pelosi just announced yesterday that she is going to run for another term, and this is going to be Pelosi's 19th term in the House. And she was first elected back in 1987. But what's interesting is, when whether or not if the Democrats do lose the House, then that'll mean, the most that she can get is maybe minority leader. But she already made an agreement with the progressives in the House that in order for her to be House Speaker this time, she would be able to bring up some of the younger generation of progressives like the AOCs and things like that to more leadership positions. So we'll have to wait and see if they would even vote for her for maybe minority leader if in fact the Democrats do lose the House.
So you think the Democratic leadership, the DNC, is ultimately all in on this woke far left movement, that they are considering that there's a changing of the guard and things like critical race theory, packing the court, open borders, soft on crime is going to be their platform for
That's
victory?
the platform right now. I mean, everybody's following Senator Bernie Sanders and his Green New Deal and what's going to be. They're even thinking about bringing back the Build Back Better Act into pieces and having it in smaller chunks to be able to bring that back for a Senate vote on the floor, possibly next week sometime.
But again, that would not be a woke far left tactic. They love big bills where they can hide a bunch of social engineering initiatives and nonprofits all over and paybacks to political cronies and that sort of thing. So I just kind of see it a little differently. I think they feel like they have to, they meaning the Democratic National Committee, the sane members of the Democratic Party, the quote unquote old time liberals, traditional liberals, feel like they have to.
The old,
they have to. They have to mollify AOC, Rashida Tlaib, Elaine Omar, those kind of folks to a certain degree. But excuse me,
I got a question for Eric. Eric, do you think that a big setback in these elections coming up for the Democrats would be an opening for the more traditional liberal to take control?
Yes, most definitely. I mean, I believe that it will be a more. I mean, the Democratic Party is the more traditional. I mean, is the more progressive type of movement right now. It is about, like you were mentioning, Alan, the bigger bills and being able to pack the court and being able to change the status quo that we have now. But yet you have the old blue dogs Democrats like the Joe Manchin and the Kristen Sinema that are kind of being the voice of reason right now. And they are the ones who are being praised by the Republican Party. It's interesting that the Democratic Party has already put $10 million just this past week against Joe Manchin and his re-election bid.
Yeah,
the Democratic Party is basically trying to get them out.
That's what sends the message to me, and I think to many others, that the DNC has pretty much said this is the future. This is what we feel that.
Correct.
And when you look at the public education system, unless there can be reforms made in the public school system, the indoctrination of our youth continues to march forward into this big government. Free things are best. Don't make as much as you can for as little work as you have to. This whole identity politics type thing is something they feel is going to win the day.
Well, local
eventually.
school
Otherwise,
boards,
it makes no sense.
Local school boards are going to become more and more important.
Local school board elections are going to be so vital for parents' rights, parental rights, things like that, being able to say what their kids are going to be able to learn in public schools. And, it's going to be the critical race theory of the future is what, if this continues up here on Capitol Hill with the election and also in the state elections, the local elections as well.
As you look back at this last year and you see how basically incompetent the administration has been on so many levels, the communications of their policies, they can't even communicate it in a way that can win people over. And it's tough to do when your policies are just dead wrong. You're trying to put lipstick on a pig. It's or teaching a pig to fly, as they say. It's not going to work. You're just going to tick off the pig. And so you see them floundering, foreign policy, the border issue, being exposed left and right on what their true agenda is, not being able, historic low approval ratings for Biden and Kamala Harris and Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer. And you see them almost like the deer in the headlights look when they're faced with tough questions, because the media now is starting to ask, to their credit, some of the mainstream media, CNN and MSNBC even, asking tough questions at this press conference. And it looks like that the leaders of this party right now are much more comfortable in an attack mode, being the loyal opposition not really being in power and just attacking people in power than they are in doing something positive with that power, feeling comfortable with that power. And it's looked like they don't know how to play the game of having the power. And I can see why Pelosi's going to run again. I know he's going to be back in a minority position. McCarthy's going to be the speaker. And I think that's where she's more comfortable. She's more comfortable tearing up speeches at the State of the Union, of going after. That's her wheelhouse, is just going after. And you can't do that as much when you're in the majority because you got the majority. So why aren't you getting it passed?
If you think back on the biggest thing that they talked about was the division that President Trump caused, and yet we're seeing the exact same division taking place with Democrats in control of the House, Senate, and the White House.
Yeah, I mean, and you look at 2 Democratic senators. You're actually just basically, I think, one away from getting your Build Back Better deal. You're just 2 Democratic senators away, and you're blaming the Republicans that you can't get those 2 Democratic senators? That's on you, Biden. That's on you, Pelosi. That's on you, Schumer. You're saying, hey, we can't get Joe and Kristen because of Donald Trump. It's incoherent. It makes no sense. They will never say, this is on us. It's my responsibility to get them. And you know what? I tried and I couldn't get it done. So let's break up this bill, move forward. If Biden would come out and say something like that, his approval rating, I'm not going to say would go through the roof, but it would rise somewhat. I mean, and how long can you stay down, Eric, at 33% approval or 29% before that number stops becoming malleable and becomes calcified? It gets so ingrained that it never moves. That's kind of what happened with Trump on a certain deal. It stays there. You don't make the adjustments. The longer it stays down there, the more people get set in their ways going, I can't support him. They're incompetent. He needs to go. And you're not even open for change. I mean, he could have a couple of wins, 3 or 4 wins in a row even, and it's not going to change that approval rating. Don't they get that? No, it definitely won't. It definitely won't change the approval rating. And, when you look at the border crisis, you look at the Afghanistan debacle, and, I'm a story that I'm working on even for tomorrow. I just got done with talking with a couple of congressmen and women about the number of Americans who are still left in Afghanistan. Unbelievable. And yet, what exactly is still being done to help these Americans get back home behind enemy lines? We always said that we would never leave any American behind, and that's exactly what we did. Yeah. Yeah, exactly, Eric. And then you hear Kamala Harris the other day saying we have to support our allies over in Europe. We have to be an ally that they can trust. Well, how about, like you said, those not just the Americans left behind, but those who put their life on the line, the Afghan people, to support us there for the last 20 years. You're leaving them behind. They're allies, but they don't matter. Because why they? We don't export anything from Afghan. Behind the amount of ammunition and the night vision goggles and the tanks and the infrared scanning, that all they need to do is scan these people's eyes, and they have a complete database. The Taliban have a complete database to be able to tell exactly what is going on, and they can be able to tell on whether or not they helped U.S. allies, and then they would in fact be beheaded in the streets. That's exactly what's going to be taking place over the next couple of days. Yep. Let me ask you this. I'm going to play a little role playing here. It's a little game we do an acting class. I want you and Larry to be just by the concept. I know you're going to recall, but just by the concept that you're a Democrat, well, at least it's up for election. And you see these poll numbers, and you get a call, and it's from the White House. And they say, Larry, Eric, yes, we see you're in trouble, and Joe and Kamala would like to come down and help you campaign and bring your numbers up. What do you say on that phone call? See, Ron Klain calls you up. His chief of staff calls you up, saying, we're going to come down and help you. What do you say? You're basically trying to talk about as much of the positives as you can of how you're trying to help out the American people in a variety of ways, but yet, and that's where they're trying to shift the blame. They're trying to shift the blame on the Republicans, that they're not allowing items such as the Build Back Better Act to be able to be passed, and they're not allowing, voting reform to take place.
That's the only thing that they have to hang their hat on, because no other accomplishments. When you start to look at the economy, you start to look at inflation, you start to look at jobs, you start to look at.
So this is you telling this to Ron Klain. This is you telling this to Ron Klain. I get you.
McLean, yeah.
Yeah, Ron, yeah.
Hey, I've got a real quick response for you. Mr. President, the best way I can help you is for you to go to another district and campaign.
I tell you, what do you do? I mean, they're ramping it up. They actually think, his advisors actually think that he's going to be a help to these candidates that are up, that you mentioned, Eric, that are up for re-election in their districts. And those that are retiring, and the 29, the new Democrat coming in, they get that call. Normally, you're honored and excited to get a call from the White House saying they're willing to come and fly on the plane, Air Force One flying in to help you. But I tell you, I think it's a net loss, isn't it? Yeah, it's a net. You'd have to say, kind of like, and I admire Glenn Youngkin out of Virginia. When Trump wanted to come down, and he very politely said, "No, I got this."
I think you're going to start to see that a lot more from the Democratic Party candidates that are basically going to tell Biden, "No, that's okay. I'm okay because of his approval ratings and showing that it's so low."
Yeah.
But, guys, I'm going to have to take off here. I'm going to have to do a live shot for EWTN News Nightly. But again, you can catch me at 6 and 9 o'clock Eastern and Pacific time on EWTN News Nightly.
Hey, Perfect. You're the best, Eric. Thanks for giving us your time, buddy. God bless.
You take care, and God bless you, Larry. Good
take
to talk
care.
with you
Good
as
talking
well.
to you.
Talk again soon.
Okay.
All right. Boy, he's a great guy.
He is.
I wish he had run for office.
He's,
I shouldn't wish that on a friend, should I?
You have to get your family prepared for all kinds of attacks.
Yeah.
And that's a tough thing. That's why it's so hard to get really good people to run for office anymore, as your family just gets ripped, whether right or wrong, and what they say doesn't have to be true about them. That's what's really hard.
That's amazing. Anybody runs.
There was a book, I'm Okay, You're Okay.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah, I think you're going to have a lot of Democrats going to Biden. I'm okay, you're okay. Just stay away.
What's he going to do, Larry? I mean, they're ready. I saw
he
a
wants
clip.
to go out because he thinks he can defend. What we've learned is he can't defend by what he says.
But could you imagine being a senator? You're or a congressman in Kentucky, and you're up in the podium with him. You got people out there watching, the cameras going, and he gets up there and says, "And I really, how about I tell you how much I support this guy over here to my right." This guy, he couldn't remember his Secretary of Defense, Lloyd Austin. 3 times he's been on there.
Yeah, I know.
And he couldn't remember his name. And I'm not making fun. Hey, I'm forgetful too. It's not that. It's just they're in a dilemma. It's a long time between now and November.
Listen, you've had cue cards all your life, Alan. So where were his cue cards?
Well, I tell you, they've got some strategy to rethink in terms of him, because you don't want him to disappear completely. That looks bad.
Well, you're going to see more video appearances than live appearances. That's my prediction.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, you're going to see a lot more video appearances so that it can be tailored a little differently to a very specific thing for that specific candidate. And it's going to be in blue, questionable elections, not in red states.
Yeah, but can you still imagine at a rally for one of these? They're fighting for their life. They got all this. You really don't have one issue you could point to except the infrastructure bill. And even showing now, I'd like to. Yeah. Here's a video clip from the president. I just think they're just living in fantasy land. The president's advisors thinking that he is a net positive where he travels to. Now, he goes over to, China or Russia, he'd be an asset. They'd be cheering him. But it's going to be very, very interesting. But again, a lot could happen. The Republicans, I'll tell you one thing, the Republicans better not start taking victory laps.
No.
Touting McCarthy and those guys. Don't count your chickens, your senators, before the eggs are hatched.
We've seen things 3 weeks before the votes start being cast, which now is a month out because of, absentee balloting and stuff. But you've got to be wise and going like crazy right up to that time the votes start.
And I'm already starting to hear crazy stuff. Like when we get control, I heard a Republican senator the other day say, we're going to have our own January 6th commission. We're going to find out. Come on. You know,
Yeah.
the people want to move past that.
Yep.
And you're going back trying to exact a pound of flesh because of what,
That never works.
doing there.
Revenge doesn't work.
doesn't work. Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord, as they say.
Yep.
All right, folks, thanks for tuning in. God bless you. God bless America. And good Lord willing, Creek don't rise. We're going to chance to do it again on Thursday. Bye-bye now. Love y'all.
Facebook fans, thanks for the comments.